Zixthera stepped out of her ship and onto Earth's surface for the first time. The gravity felt strange under her four legs, heavier than what her people were used to. She took a careful breath through her breathing apparatus. The air on this planet could kill her in minutes without protection. Around her, humans waited with smiles on their faces. They breathed the deadly air like it was nothing. Some even seemed to enjoy the bright yellow star burning overhead. Zixthera had read the reports. This star put out radiation that would cook most species alive, yet humans walked under it wearing only thin cloth. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Zixthera," said a female human with dark hair. "I'm President Chen. We're honored to have you here." Zixthera bowed in the way her people showed respect. "Thank you, President Chen. I bring greetings from the Galactic Council and 47 member species." President Chen led her toward a large white building. Other humans followed, all watching Zixthera with curious eyes. She had studied human faces before coming here, but seeing them in person felt different. Their eyes moved constantly, always looking around. Most species kept their eyes still unless there was danger. "We've prepared rooms for you in the Capitol building," President Chen said. "Our scientists made sure the air and temperature match your ship's environment." They walked through halls filled with humans working at desks and talking in groups. Zixthera noticed how loud they were. Her people spoke in quiet voices. Loud noises usually meant predators or danger, but humans seemed to make noise just to make noise. In the meeting room, more humans waited around a long table. They stood when she entered, which she had learned was a sign of respect. President Chen introduced each person by name and job. Zixthera tried to remember them all, but humans looked very similar to her. "Please, sit wherever you're comfortable," said a man called Secretary Williams. Zixthera carefully lowered herself onto a chair they had brought from her ship. "Thank you. I must say your species has accomplished much in a short time. The Galactic Council has watched your progress with great interest. We're eager to learn from other species," President Chen said. "We know we're new to all this. There must be so much we don't understand about the galaxy." This surprised Zixthera. Most young species acted like they knew everything. Humans seemed different. Maybe the Council's worries were wrong. For the next several hours, they talked about trade, technology, and culture. Humans asked good questions about galactic law and customs. They seemed smart and reasonable. Zixthera began to think this assignment would be easier than expected. "We'd like to show you some of our achievements," said Dr. Martinez, a woman with gray hair. "Perhaps you'd like to see our medical center? Or our energy production facilities?" "That would be very helpful for my report," Zixthera said. As the day ended, President Chen invited her to dinner. "We prepared foods that our research says your species can eat safely. But we'd also like you to try some human dishes if you're willing." The dining room was smaller and less formal. Humans sat around a round table, passing bowls of different foods between them. They talked and laughed while eating. Zixthera's people ate in silence to aid digestion. Dr. Martinez placed a small plate in front of her. "These are vegetables from your planet's approved list, prepared in human style." Zixthera tasted them carefully. The flavors were much stronger than what her people normally ate, but not unpleasant. "Interesting. You add many things to change the taste?" "We call them spices," Dr. Martinez said. "They make food more enjoyable." A young human across the table was eating something that made his face red and his eyes water. He kept putting more in his mouth even though he was clearly in distress. "Is that human ill?" Zixthera asked, pointing at the young man. The humans around the table started laughing. The young man wiped his eyes and grinned. "No, I'm fine. This is just really spicy food." "I love it." "Spicy?" Zixthera did not understand. "It contains capsaicin," Dr. Martinez explained, "a chemical that causes a burning sensation. Many humans enjoy the feeling." Zixthera stared at them. "You eat things that cause pain? On purpose?" "It's not exactly pain," President Chen said. "It's more like excitement. It makes us feel alive. But your body is telling you the substance is harmful." Zixthera said. "Why do you ignore these warnings?" The young man held up a small red pod. "Want to try? This is a ghost pepper, one of the hottest we have." Every instinct in Zixthera's body screamed danger. The humans were offering her something that caused them obvious distress, and they seemed happy about it. "No, thank you. I think I will stay with the safe vegetables." But she could not stop watching them. They continued eating these burning substances throughout the meal, laughing and challenging each other to try stronger ones. Some made sounds of pain, but they seemed to enjoy making these sounds. Is this normal behavior for humans? She asked Dr. Martinez quietly. Oh yes, Dr. Martinez said. We have restaurants dedicated to serving the spiciest food possible. People compete to see who can eat the hottest peppers. Some people collect hot sauces like art. Zixthera made mental notes for her report. The humans appeared civilized and reasonable in formal settings. But they deliberately consumed harmful substances for entertainment. This was concerning. After dinner, President Chen walked her back to her rooms. I hope today went well. We want to make a good impression. You have been very kind, Zixthera said. Your people seem unique, President Chen smiled. We definitely are. I think you'll find that humans can be surprising. Alone in her room, Zixthera began writing her first report to the Galactic Council. She described the successful meetings and human cooperation, but she also mentioned the concerning behavior at dinner. Humans appear to have a complex relationship with pain and danger, she wrote. They actively seek experiences that cause physical distress. More observation is needed to understand if this represents a fundamental behavioral abnormality or if there are cultural reasons for this practice. She sealed the message and sent it through the quantum communicator. Tomorrow, Dr. Martinez would take her to see human medical facilities and schools. Perhaps she would find more normal behavior there. As she prepared for sleep, Zixthera could hear humans moving around outside her window. Even late at night, they were active and noisy. On her planet, people rested when the sun went down. It was safer that way. But Earth's sun had already set hours ago, and humans continued their activities as if darkness held no dangers for them. Through her window, she could see lights everywhere. Humans moving between buildings like the night was just another part of their day. Zixthera closed her sleeping chamber and activated the security systems. She had a feeling that understanding humans would be more complicated than anyone had expected. In her dreams, she saw red faces and heard laughter mixed with sounds of pain. She woke several times wondering if the sounds were real or just echoes of the strange dinner she had witnessed. Tomorrow would bring new observations. She hoped they would be less confusing than today's had been. Dr. Martinez arrived early the next morning with a cheerful smile and a cup of steaming liquid. Good morning, Ambassador. I brought you some tea. It's made from plants on your approved list. Zixthera accepted the warm cup gratefully. The liquid smelled pleasant and tasted mild. Thank you. What is your drink? Dr. Martinez held up her own cup. Coffee. It contains caffeine, a stimulant that helps us wake up and stay alert. You need chemicals to maintain consciousness? Zixthera asked. Not exactly need. Dr. Martinez laughed. But many of us drink it every day. Some people get headaches if they don't have their morning coffee. Another concerning note for Zixthera's report. Humans use daily doses of stimulant chemicals and experience withdrawal symptoms without them. This suggested possible addiction behaviors. Their first stop was the city hospital. Dr. Martinez led her through clean white halls filled with the smell of cleaning chemicals. Humans in white coats moved quickly between rooms, carrying equipment and talking into small devices. This is our emergency treatment center, Dr. Martinez explained as they entered a large room. We help people who are hurt or sick. Zixthera watched humans working on other humans lying on tables. One person was cutting into another person's arm while the patient lay still. Why are you cutting into that human? She asked in alarm. He broke his arm, Dr. Martinez said calmly. Dr. Johnson is setting the bone so it heals properly. You cut people open to heal them? Zixthera's breathing sped up. Among her people, cutting someone was an act of violence. Does this not cause more injury? Sometimes we have to cause small harm to prevent bigger harm, Dr. Martinez explained. Surgery saves millions of lives every year. They moved to another area where a human was pushing a needle into a child's arm. The child made a small sound of pain but did not struggle. A female human, probably the child's mother, held the child's hand and spoke softly. What is happening there? Zixthera asked. Vaccination, Dr. Martinez said. We inject weakened viruses into healthy people so their bodies learn to fight the real virus if they encounter it later. Zixthera stopped walking. You deliberately infect healthy individuals with diseases? Weakened diseases, Dr. Martinez said. It's like training their immune system. It's one of our greatest medical achievements. We eliminated many deadly diseases this way. The concept horrified Zixthera. Humans deliberately harmed their own children to maybe protect them from future harm. On her planet, they used energy fields to kill dangerous organisms. They never put them inside their bodies. Their next stop was worse. Dr. Martinez showed her the surgical wing where humans were cutting into other humans in many different ways. They removed pieces of people. They put artificial parts inside people. They even moved organs from dead humans into living ones. This seems like torture, Zixthara whispered. These procedures save lives, Dr. Martinez said. That man there is getting a new heart from someone who died. Without surgery, he would die too. But you are cutting him open while he lives. He's under anesthesia. He can't feel anything. When he wakes up, he'll have a healthy heart and many more years of life. Zixthara made more notes. Humans routinely performed what other species would consider torture on each other, and they called it healing. The patients seemed willing, even grateful for this treatment. After the hospital, Dr. Martinez took her to a learning facility for young humans. The building was filled with noise and movement. Small humans ran around making loud sounds that Dr. Martinez called playing. Education is very important to us, Dr. Martinez said as they walked through halls decorated with colorful pictures. We start teaching children when they're very young. In one room, young humans sat at small tables while an adult human spoke to them. The children raised their hands and asked questions. This seemed normal enough. But in another room, Zixthara saw older humans bent over books and papers, their eyes red and tired. Several had empty cups that smelled like the coffee Dr. Martinez drank. Some humans appeared to be falling asleep while sitting up. Are these humans ill? Zixthara asked. No, they're just studying hard, Dr. Martinez said. It's finals week. They've been staying up late to prepare for important tests. They deliberately avoid sleep when they have to. Getting good grades is very important for their future careers. Zixthara watched as one young human drank from a bottle that made him shiver and shake. His hands trembled as he wrote, but he continued working. What is he consuming? Energy drink. Lots of caffeine and sugar to help him stay awake. But his body is clearly distressed by this substance. He'll crash later and sleep for 12 hours, Dr. Martinez said. But right now he needs to finish his work. Outside the school, Dr. Martinez showed her a large open area where humans were engaged in various physical activities. Some were hitting a ball with sticks. Others were running in circles for no apparent reason. Most strange, some humans were jumping out of aircraft with pieces of cloth attached to their backs. What are they doing? Zixthara pointed at the falling humans. Skydiving, Dr. Martinez said proudly. It's a recreational activity. People jump out of planes for fun. For fun, but if the cloth fails to open, they will die. That's very rare. The parachutes are very safe. People love the thrill of free-falling through the air. Zixthara watched more humans climb into the aircraft, all smiling and laughing. They were about to risk their lives for no practical purpose, and they seemed excited about it. Do humans often risk death for entertainment? Oh yes, Dr. Martinez said. We have lots of extreme sports. Mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, race car driving, bungee jumping. People love pushing their limits, testing how much danger they can handle. How fast they can go, how high they can climb, how close they can come to the edge without falling over. As they walked back toward the government building, Zixthara's mind raced with what she had seen. Humans deliberately harmed themselves and their children. They avoided sleep when their bodies needed it. They consumed substances that made them sick. They risked death for pleasure. Dr. Martinez, she said carefully, is this behavior normal for all humans? Pretty much, Dr. Martinez replied. We're probably more extreme than most species. But life is short, you know? We like to make it interesting. Even if interesting means dangerous? Especially then, Dr. Martinez smiled. Safe is boring. Humans don't like boring. That evening, Zixthara worked late on her report to the Galactic Council. She described the humans' advanced medical knowledge and their commitment to education. But she also detailed their concerning behavioral patterns. Humans appear to have evolved without proper fear responses. She wrote, they actively seek danger and seem to enjoy experiences that cause physical distress. They harm themselves intentionally for perceived future benefits. They risk death for entertainment purposes. She paused in her writing. Tomorrow, Dr. Martinez planned to show her human residential areas and recreation facilities. Zixthara wondered what other disturbing behaviors she would discover. A sound outside her window made her look up. Humans were gathered in the dark, making loud noises and flashing lights. She could see them moving in coordinated patterns. What are they doing? She asked her security detail through the communicator. Dancing, Ambassador, came the reply. It appears to be some form of social gathering. Zixthara watched the humans twist their bodies in ways that looked painful, all while making rhythmic sounds. They seemed to be enjoying themselves immensely. She added another note to her report. Humans also appeared to enjoy physical contortions performed in group settings during darkness hours. The more she learned about humans, the more she worried about recommending them for galactic membership. They might be intelligent and capable, but their relationship with pain and danger was deeply troubling. Yet something puzzled her. Despite all their self-destructive behaviors, humans had built an impressive civilization. Their cities were clean and organized. Their technology was advancing rapidly. Their society seemed stable and peaceful. How did a species that deliberately harmed itself manage to thrive and grow? Perhaps tomorrow's observations would provide some answers. Zixithara's third day on Earth brought new surprises. Dr. Martinez had suggested visiting some of humanity's outer settlements to see how they lived in different environments. We have colonies throughout the solar system now, Dr. Martinez explained as they boarded a human spacecraft. I thought you might like to see how adaptable we are. The ship was cramped and noisy compared to Galactic Council vessels. Humans sat in chairs that looked uncomfortable, strapped down with thick belts. When the ship launched, it shook violently. Zixithara gripped her seat as the humans around her laughed and made excited sounds. Does your transportation always move like this? She asked, her voice shaking with the vibrations. Only during launch, Dr. Martinez shouted over the noise. Some people think it's the best part. Their first stop was a place called Europa, a moon of the giant planet Jupiter. As they approached, Zixthara looked out the small window. The surface was completely covered in ice. No atmosphere. Deadly radiation from Jupiter bathed everything in harmful energy. Why would humans choose to live here? She asked. Well, there's water under the ice, Dr. Martinez said. And it's a good place to study Jupiter. Plus, some people like the challenge. They landed at what looked like a small metal building on the ice surface, but when they went inside and took an elevator down, Zixithara gasped. Below the ice was an entire city. Humans lived in clear domes connected by tunnels, all underwater beneath kilometers of ice. Welcome to New Atlantis, said their guide, a woman named Captain Torres. Population 12,000 and growing. Zixthara stared through the clear walls at fish swimming past. You built this under ice water that would freeze most species solid? The water's actually warmer than the surface, Captain Torres explained. We use the temperature difference to generate power. Very efficient. They toured the underwater city. Humans had farms growing in artificial light. Children played in recreation areas, swimming in the same water that surrounded their homes. Everyone seemed happy and healthy. Aren't you afraid the walls will break? Zixthara asked. If water gets in, everyone would die. We have multiple backup systems, Captain Torres said, and emergency suits in every room. But the walls are very strong. We've had a few small leaks over the years, but nothing serious. A few leaks. Zixthara's breathing sped up. And you continue to live here? Where else would we go? Captain Torres shrugged. This is home now. Besides, the research opportunities are incredible. We've discovered 17 new species of life in these waters. Next, they visited Venus. The ship had to use special shielding just to approach the planet. The surface temperature was hot enough to melt metal. The atmosphere was thick poison that would dissolve most materials. No one can live on Venus, Dr. Martinez said. But we have floating cities in the upper atmosphere. They docked with a massive structure floating in the yellow-green clouds. Through the windows, Zixithara could see the caustic atmosphere swirling around them. The smell that leaked through the air recyclers made her eyes water. Welcome to Cloud City 7, their host said. He was a tall man with skin darker than Dr. Martinez's. I'm Director Okafor. Beautiful day, isn't it? Zixithara looked out at the poisonous clouds. Beautiful? The cloud formations are spectacular at this altitude, Director Okafor said. And the sunsets are unlike anything else in the solar system. The floating city was home to 3,000 humans who mined the atmosphere for useful chemicals. They had gardens growing in filtered air and recreation areas where people exercised and played games. The gravity is almost like Earth's, Director Okafor explained, and we get plenty of solar energy above the clouds. It's quite pleasant once you get used to it. But if your city falls, everyone dies, Zixthara pointed out. If a lot of things happen, everyone dies. Director Okafor laughed. That's true anywhere humans live. We just make sure our systems work and enjoy the view. Through the observation deck, Zixthara watched human children playing near the window. The deadly clouds swirled just beyond the glass, but the children seemed unconcerned. Some pressed their faces against the window and made jokes about the strange shapes in the acid fog. Their final stop was back on Earth, but in a place called the Sahara Desert. Dr. Martinez explained that it was one of the hottest, driest places on the planet. Most of Earth's water fell elsewhere, leaving this region barren and dangerous. No one should be able to live here, Dr. Martinez said, as their aircraft descended toward what looked like empty sand. But humans are stubborn. The settlement appeared gradually as they flew lower. Buildings designed to look like the sand around them. Solar panels that tracked the movement of the sun. Gardens growing in carefully controlled environments. "Welcome to Oasis Station," said their guide, a woman whose skin was darker than anyone Zixthara had seen. "I'm Chief Engineer Patel. How many people live here?" Zixthara asked. "About 800 permanent residents," Engineer Patel said. "Plus researchers who come and go. We're completely self-sufficient now." They toured the settlement as the sun beat down overhead. The temperature would have killed Zixthara in minutes without her protective suit. But humans walked around in light clothing, working in the gardens and maintaining equipment. "Where does your water come from?" Zixthara asked. "We pull it out of the air," Engineer Patel explained, showing her a complex machine. "Even desert air has some moisture. We also recycle everything. Every drop gets used multiple times. But why live here? There are easier places on your planet." Engineer Patel smiled. "Because it's beautiful. Look around. All this space, clean air, incredible sunrises and sunsets, and we're proving that humans can live anywhere." "Anywhere?" "Well, almost anywhere. We're working on underwater cities, underground colonies, even space habitats. If there's a place that might kill us, someone wants to try living there." As they flew back to the capital city, Zixthara's mind struggled to process what she had seen. Humans had built thriving communities in places that should have been impossible to survive. They seemed to seek out the most dangerous environments and make them into homes. "Dr. Martinez," she said finally, "I must ask you something important." "Of course. My species has studied your planet from space for many years. Our scientists classified Earth as a Class 12 death world. Do you know what this means?" Dr. Martinez looked puzzled. "Not really. What's a death world?" "A planet where the environment actively tries to kill living things. Weather storms that destroy everything in their path. Geological activity that changes the landscape without warning. Biological organisms that poison or consume other life forms. Radiation from space that damages genetic material." "Oh," Dr. Martinez said. "You mean like hurricanes and earthquakes and venomous snakes and skin cancer?" "Yes, exactly. Most species can only survive on Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Peaceful places with stable weather and gentle life forms. Class 12 worlds are considered unsurvivable." Dr. Martinez was quiet for a moment. "So Earth is unusually dangerous?" "According to galactic standards, yes. Most species would die within days of landing on your planet even with protective equipment. But we evolved here," Dr. Martinez said. "This is normal for us." "Yes," Zixthara said slowly. "I am beginning to understand that now." That evening, she completely rewrote her report to the Galactic Council. The strange human behavior she had observed suddenly made sense. Humans were not insane or self-destructive. They were adapted to survive on a world that constantly tried to kill them. Humans evolved on a Class 12 death world, she wrote. What appears to be reckless behavior is actually sophisticated survival training. They deliberately expose themselves to small dangers to prepare for larger ones. They seek out challenging environments because they are adapted to thrive under pressure. She described the underwater cities, the floating settlements, the desert communities. Humans do not just survive in impossible conditions. They flourish. They find beauty in places that would terrify most species. But even as she wrote, Zixthara felt a growing unease. If humans were this capable in peaceful times, what would they be like if actually threatened? She thought about the children playing next to poisonous clouds, the people laughing as they jumped out of aircraft, the volunteers who chose to live under kilometers of ice. What would such a species do if someone actually tried to hurt them? The question kept her awake long into the night, and when she finally slept, her dreams were filled with images of humans smiling as they walked into danger. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she began to understand why the Galactic Council had sent her here. The question was not whether humans could be trusted to join galactic civilization. The question was whether galactic civilization was ready for humans. Zixthera was reviewing her notes when the alarm started screaming. The sound was unlike anything she had heard before. It echoed through the human government building with a sharp, urgent tone that made her instincts tell her to hide. Through her window, she could see humans running in organized patterns rather than fleeing in panic. Dr. Martinez burst into her room without knocking. Her face was pale and her eyes were wide. "Ambassador, we need to get you to the secure bunker immediately." "What is happening?" Zixthera asked, gathering her equipment. "Emergency session of the Galactic Council. Something's attacking the outer systems." They moved quickly through corridors filled with humans moving with purpose and speed. No one was screaming or crying. Instead, they spoke in short, clipped sentences and carried equipment Zixthera had never seen before. In the bunker, a large room filled with screens and communication devices, President Chen stood at the center of a group of humans wearing military uniforms. Her face was grim as she listened to reports coming from space. "Ambassador," President Chen said when she saw Zixthera, "we're receiving communications from the Galactic Council. Something is destroying entire star systems. They're calling it the Devourer Fleet." Zixthera felt her blood go cold. The Devourers were ancient machines that had slept in the galaxy's core for millions of years. According to old records, they had consumed entire civilizations before finally going dormant. "Most species believed they were just legends. How many ships?" she asked. "Thousands," said Admiral Chen, a woman who shared a name with the president but looked much harder. "They came out of the galactic core 6 hours ago. They've already consumed the Harmony system. The Harmony system had been home to 12 billion peaceful beings, all dead now, along with their planets, their star, everything. Zixthera had friends there." "What is the Council's response?" she asked. President Chen looked uncomfortable. "They're debating." On the main screen, Zixthera could see a live feed from the Galactic Council chambers. Her own people and dozens of other species sat in their traditional seats, talking in the formal, careful way that council members always used. Even facing extinction, they followed proper procedures. "Honored Representative," spoke Elder Kuvan of the Wise Ones, "we must carefully consider our response to this unprecedented threat. Perhaps we should form a committee to study the situation." "With respect," said Ambassador Feltar of the Crystal Union, "should we not first attempt diplomatic contact? These machines may be reasonable beings with whom we can negotiate." Zixthera watched her fellow council members debate while worlds burned. This was how the council always worked. Careful discussion, proper procedures, committees and subcommittees, and votes on whether to have more votes. "How long will they take to reach inhabited systems?" President Chen asked. "At their current speed, they'll hit the Veltani homeworld in 4 days. Admiral Chen replied. "Earth in approximately 3 weeks. Zixthera's breathing stopped. Her people, her family, everyone she had ever known would be dead in 4 days while the council debated proper procedures. She turned to watch the humans around her. They were not debating. Admiral Chen was giving orders to people who responded with quick "yes, ma'am," and immediately left to carry them out. President Chen was speaking into a communication device, and Zixthera could hear humans around the world responding instantly. "All military forces to active status immediately," President Chen was saying. "Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel from outer colonies. Activate the planetary defense grid." "Ma'am," said a young human with lieutenant's bars, "what about the civilian populations? Should we begin planet-wide evacuations?" Admiral Chen looked at him with an expression Zixthera had never seen on a human face before. It was cold and hard and absolutely terrifying. "Lieutenant, we're not evacuating. We're preparing to fight." "Fight?" Zixthera said. "But these are devourers. They've consumed thousands of civilizations. No one has ever defeated them. No one has ever tried," Admiral Chen said simply. Around the room, humans worked with incredible speed. They brought up displays showing every human ship, every colony, every military installation. Within an hour, Zixthera watched humanity transform from a peaceful civilization into something she didn't recognize. "Ambassador," President Chen said, "we need to ask you something important. Do you have technical specifications for council ships? Weapon capabilities, defensive systems, anything that might help us coordinate a defense? You want to fight alongside the council?" Zixthera asked. "Of course. We're all in this together." But even as President Chen spoke, the reports from council space grew worse. The Devourers moved from system to system like a plague, consuming everything. and the council continued to debate. Honored Elder Qvan, Zixthera heard through the communication feed. Perhaps we should consider a strategic withdrawal to safer regions of the galaxy while we develop a long-term response plan. A strategic withdrawal. They were talking about running away and abandoning entire sectors of space. "Ma'am," said Admiral Chen, looking at data on her screens, "we're getting volunteer reports." "What kind of volunteers?" President Chen asked. "Military volunteers. For suicide missions." Admiral Chen's voice was steady, but Zixthera could hear something underneath it. "Pride, maybe. Pilots are volunteering to ram their ships into Devourer vessels. Engineers are volunteering to take bombs into Devourer installations. We have more volunteers than we have missions." President Chen nodded. "Make sure their families know they're heroes." Zixthera stared at them. "Your people are volunteering to die?" "To save others, yes," President Chen said. "That's what humans do." The next few hours showed Zixthera a side of humanity she had never imagined. While the Galactic Council debated and formed committees, humans moved with terrifying efficiency. Military factories that had been producing civilian goods switched to weapons production within hours. Scientists who had been studying peaceful applications of technology began developing new ways to destroy Devourer ships. Citizens who had never held weapons began training for ground combat. Most shocking, the humans seemed excited. "This is it," she heard one young soldier say to another. "This is what we've been training for our whole lives." "Finally, a real challenge," said a scientist as she worked on some kind of explosive device. "Something worthy of human engineering." On the screens, Zixthera watched the first battle between human forces and the Devourers. A small human patrol fleet had encountered a Devourer scouting group near Jupiter. The human ships were tiny compared to the massive Devourer vessels. The Devourers had weapons that could destroy planets. The humans had creativity. Instead of fighting the conventional battle the Devourers expected, human ships used Jupiter's gravity to slingshot around the planet at impossible speeds. They used the planet's radiation as a weapon, somehow channeling it into focused beams. When their weapons ran out of ammunition, human pilots rammed their ships into Devourer hulls. One human captain, his ship badly damaged and about to be destroyed, sent a message that Admiral Chen played for the room. "Tell my kids their dad went out with style." His ship exploded against a Devourer vessel, taking them both out. The room was silent for a moment. Then Admiral Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Gentlemen, ladies, I think we're going to win this war." "How can you be sure?" Zixthera asked. Admiral Chen pointed to the tactical display. "Because we want to win more than they want to consume. These machines are just following programming. We're fighting for everything we love." As night fell on Earth, Zixthera watched humans prepare for a war that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Children too young to fight drew pictures of humans destroying robot monsters. Scientists worked through the night developing new weapons. Soldiers said goodbye to their families and left for battles they might not survive. And through it all they smiled. Not happy smiles, but something harder. The same expression she had seen on the faces of humans eating painful foods, jumping out of aircraft, living in impossible places. The expression of people who had spent their entire evolutionary history being told they couldn't survive, and proving the universe wrong. Zixthera began to understand why her species had been afraid of humans. It wasn't because humans were violent or aggressive. It was because when humans decided something needed to be done, they would do it no matter what the cost. Even if it killed them. Especially if it killed them. The war lasted 3 months. Zixthera watched every battle from the human command center. And each day she understood less about how humans thought, and more about why the galaxy should be grateful they were on their side. The Devourers were everything the ancient records claimed. Massive ships that could eat planets, weapons that turned entire moons to dust, an intelligence that had consumed thousands of civilizations and learned from each victory, but they had never fought humans before. "Status report, Admiral," Chen called out as she entered the command center on what would become the final day of the war. "Devourer main fleet is holding position around the galactic core," reported Colonel Santos. "They've pulled back from their advance after yesterday's incident." Zixthera knew what incident he meant. A human volunteer named Captain Rodriguez had somehow managed to fly her ship directly into a Devourer command vessel. Instead of simply ramming it, She had broadcast human music on all frequencies while her ship's nuclear reactor overloaded. The Devourers had never encountered anything like it. An enemy that sang while dying who turned their own destruction into a weapon. What about the Council forces? Admiral Chen asked. Still debating evacuation procedures, Colonel Santos said, though some individual ships have begun joining our battle groups without official permission. Zixthara was not surprised. While the Galactic Council argued about proper protocols, many individual species had watched humans fight and decided to join them. Not because the Council ordered it, but because humans made them want to be brave. Admiral, said Dr. Martinez, who had been working with the scientists, we have the final numbers on Project Midnight. Project Midnight was humanity's final plan. Zixthara still did not completely understand it, but she knew it involved every human ship in space, every volunteer they could find, and a plan so dangerous that even humans had hesitated before approving it. How many ships? Admiral Chen asked. Every one we have. Military, civilian, research vessels, even private yachts. About 12,000 ships total. Volunteers? More than we can use. We had to turn people away. Admiral Chen nodded. And the Devourers? Their main fleet has approximately 50,000 ships, all larger and more powerful than ours. The numbers were hopeless. Humans were outgunned by more than 4 to 1, facing an enemy that had never been defeated. Any reasonable species would surrender or try to negotiate, but Zixthara had learned that humans were not reasonable. Time to target? Admiral Chen asked. 6 hours, Dr. Martinez replied. Then we'd better get started. Project Midnight began with every human ship in space moving toward the galactic core at maximum speed. Not to fight in formation or follow careful battle plans, but to attack everything they could reach before they died. Zixthara watched the tactical display as thousands of small human ships faced off against the massive Devourer fleet. It should have been a massacre. Instead, it became the strangest battle in galactic history. Human ships did not fight like any species the Devourers had encountered. They used their own vessels as weapons, ramming larger ships at full speed. They flew through radiation fields that should have killed their crews instantly. They broadcast messages to each other while fighting, sharing jokes and encouragement as they died. "This is Captain Kim in the Lucky Star," came one transmission. "I'm about to ram a Devourer battleship. Tell my wife I love her," and I went out laughing. Another voice, "Captain Williams here. My ship's about to explode, but I'm taking 3 of these metal monsters with me. See you all in whatever comes next." The Devourers fought back with devastating weapons, destroying human ships by the hundreds. But every destroyed human ship seemed to inspire the remaining humans to fight harder. Most importantly, the humans were winning. Not through superior firepower or better technology, but through something the Devourers could not understand or counter: absolute refusal to accept defeat. When human weapons ran out of ammunition, they used their ships as kinetic weapons. When their ships were too damaged to fly, they set off their reactors as bombs. When they ran out of ships, individual humans in spacesuits continued the attack with whatever weapons they could carry. Zixthara watched Captain Sarah Chen, the Admiral's daughter, lead a group of fighters directly into the Devourer command ship. Her small craft was severely damaged, trailing fire and atmosphere, but she kept flying. "Command, this is Sarah Chen," came her voice over the radio. "I'm going right down their throat. Whatever happens next, remember that humans don't quit." Her ship disappeared into the massive Devourer vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire Devourer command ship began to break apart from inside. "What did she do?" Zixthara asked. "Overloaded their reactor," Admiral Chen said quietly. "She flew right into their power core and caused a feedback loop. But she knew she would die. Yes, she also knew it would save everyone else." Around the command center, humans continued working even as they received reports of massive casualties. Every few minutes, someone would pause to wipe their eyes, then return to their duties. The turning point came when the Devourer hive mind began to retreat. These ancient machines, which had consumed entire galaxies, encountered something they had never faced before, an enemy that became more dangerous when facing certain death. "They're pulling back," Colonel Santos called out. "All Devourer ships are withdrawing toward dark space." The room erupted in cheers, but Admiral Chen raised her hand for silence. "It's not over. We need to make sure they don't come back." The final phase of the battle saw human volunteers pursuing the retreating devourers into the empty space between galaxies. Pilots who had already survived impossible odds volunteered for one more mission: to follow the devourers into the dark and make sure they never returned. "We'll set up monitoring stations," Captain Torres volunteered. She was the same woman who had shown Zixthara the underwater cities on Europa. "If they try to come back, we'll give advance warning." "That's a one-way mission," Admiral Chen pointed out. "No way to get supplies out there. No way to come home." "We know," Captain Torres said, "but our kids need to grow up in a safe galaxy." 200 human ships followed the devourers into dark space. Zixthara never learned what happened to them, but the devourers were never seen again. In the aftermath, as the galaxy began to rebuild, Zixthara finally completed her report to the Galactic Council. She stood before the assembled representatives of 47 species, many of whom were alive only because humans had chosen to fight instead of flee. "Honored Council," she began, "I have observed the human species for 3 months under normal conditions and 3 months under extreme threat. I am prepared to make my recommendation." The council chamber was silent. Everyone knew that this recommendation would determine humanity's future relationship with galactic civilization. "Humans are not like us," Zixthara continued. "They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They adapted by becoming something we have never seen before. A species that treats survival as a challenge rather than a burden." She activated a holographic display showing images from her time on Earth. Humans eating painful foods, jumping from aircraft, living in impossible places, volunteering for suicide missions. What we interpreted as insanity is actually the highest form of adaptation. Humans deliberately expose themselves to manageable dangers so they can handle larger threats. They seek out challenges because they understand that comfort leads to weakness. The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Many of them ruled species that had chosen safety over strength for thousands of years. During the Devourer crisis, while we debated proper procedures, humans mobilized their entire civilization in hours. While we formed committees, they formed battle groups. While we considered strategic withdrawal, they advanced into certain death. She paused, looking around the chamber at representatives who had been saved by human sacrifice. "The question before us is not whether humans deserve membership in galactic civilization. The question is whether galactic civilization deserves humans." Elder Kuvan of the Wise Ones spoke carefully. "Are you suggesting that humans should lead the council?"
"I am suggesting that we need to learn from them," Zixthara replied.
"For thousands of years we have prioritized peace and safety above all else. We have become soft. The Devourers nearly destroyed us because we had forgotten how to fight for what we value." She activated another display, showing human volunteers flying into dark space. "Humans remember something we have forgotten, that some things are worth dying for. Their families, their friends, their way of life, even strangers they have never met. They will sacrifice everything to protect what they love." The chamber was silent for a long moment. "What is your formal recommendation?" Elder Kuvan asked. "Full membership with emergency authority," Zixthara said. "Humans should be our first response to any existential threat, and we should send representatives to Earth to learn what they know about courage." The vote was unanimous. Later, as Zixthara prepared to return to Earth as the first galactic ambassador to humanity, she thought about everything she had learned. Humans were terrifying. They ate poison for fun, lived in places that should kill them, and volunteered to die for people they barely knew. But they were also the most beautiful species she had ever encountered.